Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. If that's what you're doing, I wanted to have this live stream about creating new lines and um, working on things away from your horn that can be helpful. This can be a good thing for you if you have some kind of if you're like sick or something, you can't play your horn for a minute, um, or it's been recommended that you not play your horn for a while. This is a good way to stretch out and find some new possibilities. It also gets you away from the comfort level and sort of default things you might do when you're playing, because of the mechanics, because of the finger combinations and things like that. It's a good way to push into new things. Um, so let's get started. I was listening to this solo by Troy Roberts over Groove Merchant. Troy Roberts came to town kind of recently, with our trumpet professor doing an album tour, and when I heard him, I was like, I have to hear more of this guy. I have to know more of his playing. So of course I looked him up, and came across some great material. He has his own band called New Jive, which is just like really great stuff. And I'm thinking, man, how does he like come up with some of this stuff? And it feels when I listen to him, it feels really natural. I just want to make sure I'm showing the cursor across here. Is that happening? No. Um, his playing sounds really natural and like not copy and pasted at all, which is to mean that he's not stringing a bunch of pre-rehearsed licks together. Let's see, I should be. Okay, well, I should be showing the cursor, but it's fine if I'm not. So I wanted to go through some possibilities in creating new lines. These can be, for me, they've been especially helpful in the context of like funk or fusion or um, like smooth jazz where there will be static chords for a bit. And that's a good way to practice these lines to kind of to get them under your fingers and sort of practice them out. You can find a lot of just groove audio, or on YouTube, audio with video, just in one key, just one chord for a long time, and really mess around with that. And that's a good way to discover new things. But and it's also just good to have the horn in front of your face or under your fingers for all that time, kind of getting that practice as well. But if you can't, this is really great. So enough preface. let's talk about this. This is what I do sometimes in my head. While I'm playing in my head, I'll sort of be working some of these things out. If this is my goal to come up with new lines. If not, we can do it on here, on, I say paper with air quotes. Let's just start with like a C. Seven chord, and of course I've put those in the wrong place. There we go. They really want to be up there. We've got so just C major 7. Oh, you know what I've done? I've put that all over an E. Nice. C major, C 13 chord. Let's go with that. And I like using this electric piano patch because it's not too harsh. I'm going to send that up an octave. Don't like that voicing either. That's fine. That works really just fine. Actually, I'm going to get rid of the A now that I think about it, because I really just want the core of this. So, I'm going to write some typical sort of, well, what would be the first thing to do on a chord? Let me go ahead and put the chord symbol above here, just so it's obvious. First thing we kind of teach students to do is, well, there's one note that's pretty obviously in the chord, and that's C. And that's the note almost everybody starts out playing. It makes sense because it's written right there above the chord, and they're like, I don't know the note 7, like I don't know what that means. So then we learn what that means, and we talk through playing each note of the chord. So arpeggiating the chord. Cool. Sounds fine. Works out. Let's start with this concept of arpeggiating the chord. Or using chord tones as our kind of basis for work here. So yeah, you know what? Let's leave it like that. But what if we want to? I basically think of filling in these spaces here, right? Well, I can't, yes, that's right, because I'm talking about myself, so I know. But I usually spend time filling in these spaces, and it might look something like this. Well, first of all, the first way we learn to fill in these spaces is to go nice. Works great. If you get a little further along, you might get this added. Nice. Right? Got a perfectly fine lick here. already just within this scale, I've got a bunch of options. Because what's happened here, we've written the scale out, and I've added this half step between 7 and 1. This is really nice because it puts a chord tone on all of the strong beats, just like we had a moment ago. They're still all on the down beats there, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it just adds this little passing note to make sure we land on a chord tone when the next downbeat comes along. So good, let's keep that rule. Chord tones on downbeats, add passing tones as needed. Well, the first thing I could do is transpose this, or sorry, reorder the same scale. So I could start on G, and then end on G. Okay, cool. I could start on E. Oop, gonna have to change that though, right? Cool, start on E. Has the same, so I could just start on different chord tones in this scale. I could even start on the 7th if I wanted. And I do, so cool. So we've done that. I think I'm gonna turn this. I think I need to turn this up just a little bit. Yeah, sorry, I'm realizing that's really, really quiet on your end. Okay, so let's halt that for a second. Get this volume worked out. Let's probably go somewhere in between 50 and 100. And let's see how that's registering on OBS. Cool. Okay. Maybe, yeah, the volume mixer is good too. Okay, great. So, we've got that going on. Just with this one line, one thing I notice about it is that I'm always putting this half step in between 7 and 1. And that sounds great here, because there's that tension right before we end the bar. Everything else sits pretty fine. And there's this note that definitely makes it not okay. You wouldn't want to sit on that or have it play on the downbeat. And let's prove it. Does not feel great or sound great. So let's reverse that back. This is going to be our foundation right here. We're going to use, this is called the bebop dominant scale. And I'm just going to go through and try some different options. So let me start over here. So what if I start on the 3rd again? So here, a second ago I would have done that, But I liked the having the half step right before the bar ended. So let's do that. Let's change the scale so that the tension is leading up to the third instead of up to the root. I like that a little bit better. I think that sounds cool. Let's try starting on G. Why don't I keep these now that I'm doing it that way? Why don't we start on G now and follow the same rule? So I'm going to have this happen in the last part of the bar no matter what. Okay, that sounds closer to the first one to me than this one, and there are reasons for that, but that's for a different time. Cool. Sounds good coming off of the G. Why don't we try off the B flat? Okay. This is where our first little bit of problem solving has to take place. Because there's not a note between A and B flat. At least not in our Western system. So we got to figure out something to do. How do I get around this hurdle? This is the part that can really start to stretch your problem solving and your this also begins to open up a lot of options, because right here there haven't been a lot of options. I made the rules, right? I'm going to go up a half step in the last beat, up by half steps in the last beat to make it to the chord tone I want. And on here the chord tone is B flat, but I don't have that option. So now I have to use some problem solving. How am I going to repeat that note? Because that technically fits the rule, doesn't it? From a half step resolution down to the downbeat. Cool. It just sounds lame, I think. I don't think that sounds cool. I don't like how there's just kind of no tension here. You could really even just play that note. I mean, yeah, there's a little tension in resolving there, I guess. So, how can I get around this? Well, now I have to decide which parts of the rules to give up. I'm going up the scale in sequence there. And then let's say I want to make the more important part the half step leading up to the downbeat. Well, in that case, this is already a half step, but I still want that half step tension. Let's put a half step right here. Just back it up a half a beat and see how that goes. Okay. I'm fine with the sound of that. Let's do what we did earlier and have the scale start with this half step that we know is safe, right? We know it's safe. And then since it's already going up by half step, whatever, we'll just leave it that way. We'll leave it diatonic. G, A, B flat. Not a lot of tension. Okay. If I want to follow the logic of all these other licks, so like this one, for instance, tells me that I could potentially have a half step in between D and E that sound fine. No problem there. So let's do that. Let's put that half step in there to make it work out. Okay, that worked out. That sounds just fine. I'm not offended. We also saw here that we can put one in between F and G. That feels pretty nice. Cool. I think that one sounds great as well. What are some other options? I could break the half step rule. I could say that A fulfills the half step rule from here. And then I have to just use some note to go in between the A and the B flat. That sounds really cool to me. Let's raise this tempo a little bit. Yeah, I like the sound of that. So, what do we have here? We have we can play a lot with this. Okay? So, let's say we want to take this little idea right here. I just decided I like that. That sort of escape tone it might be. I can't remember what exactly this embellishment is called, but this sort of diatonic like neighbor tone, but it's going the opposite direction of where the rest of the line's going. Can I do that just anywhere? Let's find out. See, we put that G there. Let's throw an E right here. The only thing I'm starting to notice about this is I'm getting these like this coming up on a strong beat. Which clashes. That's not really the goal of this chord, so I don't think this one's going to work out well. Okay. So let's make sure we start on a chord tone on the downbeat. Let's do it right here. Okay. That works out. What if I go down to a different chord tone? So these are sort of decisions you can experiment with. I didn't like ending on having the F happen on that beat 3 there, because beats 1 and 3 are really the strongest to have chord tones on. I don't like repeating the note in the middle of a line. That makes it feel weird. Now what if I went with this note here? What if I said, well, let's get outside of the line and come back in, but from the other direction? What if I went above the note? And then this becomes what we call an enclosure, because these two notes are on either side of this one. So you can see that there's this down, up, target. Alright, so we go around the target and then we hit it. Let's try this. Okay, I think that sounds pretty nice. And I like that better than any of the other options because it puts this strong chord tone on a strong beat, beat 3. So that's one way to get to sort of move away from some habits. So if you're used to playing the bebop scale, think about what problem that's aimed to solve. And then break away from it, like I just did here. Sounds nice. Let's put it in jazz. I don't like the. Oh god. Nope, that's not the right box. Let's do 50. Okay, so that's how to cool. Now let's take this line that we've built, we've constructed away from out of this, kind of solving a problem that came about with this whole set. So let's get rid of these. This is what we're starting with now. Now let's do what a lot of players have done in the past. We've got this enclosure here, below, above, and then the target. What if we sort of reversed that order and went above, below, and then the target? Now we're getting really, we're getting further and further away from a scale motion here. Okay, that's what that sounds like. Totally fine. What if we make it so this is a half step above the note? It's not clicking on the note. And then this is a whole step below the note. So what if we make them both a half step? That is a really bebop sounding line. It's just a common thing that's used in bebop. What if we switch it so this is a whole step? What if we make this one a whole step? That gets out there a little. Okay. What if we did the same thing to as many chord tones as we can? So we've already got B flat, no notes before it, so we can't really do much with that. F, D, E. What if we do that to the target, the B flat target as well? So we need to go one note above and one note below, and then we hit the target. Okay, what if we do cool? The only thing I don't like is this F sounds a little funny. Let's try a G instead. Boom. That's a great sounding lick. And you know what's really nice about it is sort of from here on So here's a little cell, and we could include the G in that, but really then here's a little cell as well. And then it almost doesn't matter. Like if you played a lick from before this and you finish it on beat 1, you don't need any of this material. Well, that got rid of the chord symbol. You don't need any of that stuff on beat 1. You can use the lick like that. So what if you played a thing before it that ended on a C? Well, you can still make this work. Perfect. What if you played a lick before it that ended on D? Not optimal. I probably wouldn't end a lick on D for the same reason I haven't over here. Let's work with chord tones. So E, well that's tricky, right? Because we can't exactly do this. So let's discover a few options. Let's go down again. Starts to make this D feel like a more important note than it really is. But that's fine. What if I made this a half step again, so I'm not repeating this note? Cool. I think that sounds cool. What if we leave it natural and we solve this by jumping the scale in the other direction? Okay. So I've introduced this kind of neighbor tone to the F. Now it's an enclosure on the F, which is enclosing the E. So it's like this coming back around. We're going to have E on both strong beats. We're just going to leave it for a second in the middle. Let's find some other ways to go from E to E. How far away from this can we get? So let's reverse the enclosure. Well, yeah, let's leave it like that. I don't like how angular that is. We could have the... That's cool because it repeats. It's like it repeats the formula of so below, below, above, target, below, below, above, target. It achieves the same goal. So that's nice. There's one thing on the end here I realize I didn't really do before. And that's that I could have put this half step B natural in between the C and the resolution note. I don't know, that's kind of, the objective was to go up, so I like that better. So I've come up with a lick here that I'm pretty happy with. What if I had ended the last thing on a G? That's the, I mean, we could just go down and back up. Cool. If we want to add more tension, maybe we do this. Nice. So we've got this little mini thing here where we've got the strong note happening on both of these. We've got E and E, but this is the one I'm mainly concerned about, the one that happens on beat 3. Everything here is kind of, I don't want to say disposable, but a little bit. So what can we do to get from G to E with 3 notes? Well, it looks like I know we can. Nope, can't do that one. What if we try to just fit every note we can and then we have to escape on the last note here, because otherwise it would repeat a note. Yeah, that. Let's do this. I think we can split the volume of these lines in Finale. Yeah. So that works nice. That's a real typical lick. Let's do, what if we flip the way this goes? So we've got 2 upper and 1 lower, and we're going from further away to closer on the 2 uppers. So let's do 2 down, get closer on the second one, and switch the down to an up. Let's bring that down into the staff, see if it doesn't really stick out any better. You know what? I might have chord playback turned on. That was it. I personally don't favor that sound. It feels kind of odd to me. I liked the other one better. This even with the whole step instead. Okay, so that's a cool solution to that problem. Let's say we're going from G to B flat. Let me start a new one. We don't need that. And then let me just get rid of all this material. And this is, I want to go from, don't want to do that. I want to go from G to B flat. Let's find out some different ways to do that. So the simplest way would be to do that. Cool. Just stepwise. If I had to arpeggiate, I would go or okay. Let's I liked the, you know what? I liked the E better. I could do this on every possible combination, but that would take way longer. And that's part of this process, is deciding right away what you don't like and sort of tossing it out. using this process of elimination to determine your own sound, because almost everything's already been played. Okay? Um, well, it looks like that's what I already had going on here. So, yeah, let's do the C one. So how can we get from C to B flat? And we've got all this space to fill in. Well, that's a great way to get from G to B flat with 4 notes. And if you were going at like tempo 250 or something, that might be a more reasonable number of notes to fit in that space. And then the other, well, we can always do the safe thing and arpeggiate. Cool. Arpeggiation sounds fine. Let's add more notes. Let's do eighth notes here. Let's go from the G to the C first. Let's worry about that part. So we got 4 notes to mess with here. Okay, that goes straight to the C. Wonderfully, just go straight from G to C with that little half step we decided we are able to add earlier. And then if I wanted to go from C to B flat with this G, keep it the same way, I could add that half step like I did before. And that has a thematic sort of thing to it, right? Because A, B flat, B, C, G, G sharp, A, B flat. There's a sequence there. Right here and right here. So, that seems like it would work great. It's nice because there's a sequence, so that makes it sort of stick out from some of the other stuff you might play. People, your audience, can hear sequences. They don't all know it, and they don't all know to call it that, but they can hear when you repeat something. That's why anybody in the world can hear a song and then hear another song that sounds almost like it and go, oh my gosh, that sounds just like this song. Because they can hear that repetition. They don't have to know all the things that we know in order to hear that. So if you can inject repetition into these things, great. That's like a bonus point. So let's get out of this linear sort of way and get into some of the stuff we did before, like these enclosures. I personally have been trying to back off from having these sort of double half-step resolutions in my playing, because I think they sound pretty old school, and yeah, I mean, they just sound kind of old school. There's a time for them, this would have been some of the first ways musicians like traditional trad jazz musicians would have found to like get in between these chord tones. I'm going to go from a chord tone to a chord tone to another chord tone, and I'm going to use this material in between that sounds good. That's a thought process that I can almost be certain took place. So let's change it up a bit. What if I want to get rid of this double half step thing. So what if I do that enclosure thing from earlier? And if I do it here, then I'd want that to be an A. Okay. What if I reverse the enclosures like I did earlier? Now it's gonna get a little hairy because the C is gonna have to repeat to make that work. Yeah, I don't know about that because it's repeating on two downbeats. If it were repeating like earlier on the downbeat here and then the upbeat over here, it kind of slips past you. You know, it's not as obvious that it repeats because it's filling two different roles now. What if I got rid of that repetition by, remember what I did earlier? I did C, B natural, B flat right here in quarter notes. What if I did that and had this enclosure thing happening as sort of a side? Then we have these kind of thirds. What if, okay, so I see the top notes are going D, C, B natural, B flat. What if I made the bottom notes approach the target note as the top notes do? So what if I get further away and take that G, G sharp, A, put that here leading up to the note? That sounds pretty disjunct. Yeah, that sounds weird. So the thing to me really is when I divide the bar in half like this, it really sounds like two puzzle pieces stuck together. And then it sounds like I've started the bar over on this C. So, I don't really like that too much. What if I could make a more fluid line? Let's see what I have here. If I want to get from G to B flat. Well, I've got notes. Let's just fill them all in. I've got two notes in between there because I've got an A and a G sharp. So I could, let's do A and G sharp as if they're, let's put them on the quarter notes here and have filler material in between them. So how are we going to get from G to G sharp? I could move kind of, well, that would defeat the purpose of having the A later on. So the point is to have it feel like G, G sharp, A, B flat. If I sort of give the A away by putting it right here, defeats it a little bit. Let's check that out. See what I mean? It makes the G not really feel like it matters anymore. What if I repeat the G? And what if I, it doesn't feel great to have that there. Keep that note. Okay. That sounds, I like that better than I did before. What if we just kept this to kind of more true thirds instead of repeating the E down here? That sounds cool. I really like the sound of that. Just to make sure, what if I fully arpeggiated this? Not necessary. That's really linear. Let's put an E on this strong beat. So what if we approach it by a half step? I don't know about that one. Let's try, earlier I said, well, no. I was going to say if we try approaching this from above, earlier I said it's different having it on a downbeat than it is having it on an upbeat, but I still think the A would give it away here. Let's just try it. Yeah, it's... What if I kept this chromatic theme going? What if I did it the opposite direction, though? That sounds interesting. So the main thing I want to take away from this, there's enough thematic, like I've got these half-step relationships happening, and just so that doesn't change to an eighth note. A sort of change in direction, because I'm going down for a second here, but up in the second half. I could try to extend this thirds idea a little further, so that would be maybe like that. Or yeah, that's the question is, you know, should F be the note before G sharp, or should it be the G that would have been there? Or is the G at the beginning enough? This is going to be weird. That sounds way out. Yeah, I think whatever is happening here the G has to happen twice to sort of remind the line about the G, G sharp, A, B flat motion. The one at the beginning isn't enough to do that. Because if we got rid of it, so yeah. Okay. So this is, I'm going to go back to, instead of messing with the line, I like the shape of this line now. I like the way it sounds. I like the way that after the first note it is going up continuously, and then it's just got these that's what's really happening. These are just, if I played this, what would end up happening is these notes would have, let's see if it's in this little library of things. No, it doesn't look like they have it. They have these to put on either side, but they don't have the combined one. I would put parentheses around these notes, and they would end up being like ghosted. So it almost doesn't matter what these notes are. You know, they could be all the way down. I'm not gonna play them that strongly. I'm gonna emphasize that. So let's take this line now and do what I did earlier. Let's make it go, instead of going from G to B flat, let's move it all down a chord tone. So let's go from E to G, but we're going to follow the same contour. So we're going to go down to, and then to G. That just sounds great. Like, awesome. Let's go from C now. The question is, what's this note going to be? You know, is it probably needs to be a B flat if it's not leading up to the C. We know we could use that scale from earlier to make this happen. To me, that's just a lot of stuff in one space. What if I used this? What if I used that to... I don't even know that too much. I don't know, that something about the lick in this configuration doesn't sound as good to me. But the reason I do this is what I'm thinking of. I still need a solution to get from C to E in this amount of space. Because that's what I'm thinking in my head when I'm soloing. I'm ending one thing, one idea on the root, and I'm thinking of the next time I'm going to play a chord tone and how I'm going to emphasize that. Give me just a moment to break here. Alright, sorry about that. I just got a phone call that was pretty important. And, yeah. So I needed to take that. So here, this shape wasn't kind of working out for this. But I'm okay with that. I don't know, that's fine. I don't prefer it as much as the others. This is kind of a common lick in jazz, period. Going from 4 to sharp 4 to 5 happens all the time. You probably say the same thing for this. 2 to sharp 2 to 3. So we've got one more set of chord tones to start and end on. Oh, I do not want to have to go. I'll tell you. Let's do this. Boom. Done. Oops, went too far. Okay, we've got to go from, and let's make sure I can see the past ones. Let's go from B flat. This is going to be weird, because I've basically got to go so yeah, that works out. It's not my favorite one either, just because this do da da is landing on the root is not really my jam. Cool. So that's if I've had to start from scratch with some solutions. That's kind of a workout. That's sort of the first workout. And of course, I'm able to do that because I'm using Finale, which is playing the licks for me so that I can check them out, so I can see if I like them. Of course, the other way to do that is on your horn. You can see if you like them right away, especially if you have some kind of backing track or something, or one of those that I was talking about where it's just a static jam on a chord. You know, that works great. What if we have some more starting material? Or we discover some new starting material. So here's one. What if I have a, let's see, at school lately we've been working on these triad pairs. We've been doing that. And it can be over a multitude of chords. The harmonic content isn't really the focus on this. It's creating harmonic content with the melody. So it would be like saying two adjacent triads, not seventh chords, triads that don't share a note. Okay, so something like that. And then we would keep going up the triads. Switch to D minor again. So something like that. Okay? I've found out that I really like the sound of having this one B minor and this one major. I think that's a cool sound. I'll go ahead and, well, I don't want to keep fleshing that out. But one thing is, you don't really need that note, do you? Oops. That was the wrong. Because you've got the entire triad in these first three notes. So what could I do with this fourth note instead? Well, I could repeat whatever the second note was to get me back around. To the next note of the next triad. That's a pretty direct. I mean, really, you don't need this note either because it's just another note in the triad, isn't it? What if I set my triad pairs apart by leaving this material where it's clearly the triads. But I mess with this fourth thing to what's it called? Oh my gosh, I can't remember the word, but to make it a little bit untrue to the triad pairs, you know. Of course, I could always get rid of these rests and just have 3-note, 3/4 hemiola thing happening. But I really want this fourth note. I want to find out what I can do with this. So here, what if I did from before, what if I did these approach tones to each one? Now in this case, it just happens to repeat this D. But I think in this instance, you might hear those differently. Yeah, it repeats the F sharp here as well. That's a completely new note to the whole thing, the B natural. Let's see how this sounds. Whew! That's got a different flavor on it. Adding those leading tones really makes a different sound happen, but I can still hear. Sorry, I'm not getting the cursor in the right place, but you get it. I can hear the triads. Cool. So that's a possibility. It's a little bit of work. It still sounds a little unnatural to me. What if I just went back to the first note every time? I'm actually going to take the swing off of this. Okay, that sounds good. It still gets the point across. I did leading tones from below earlier, so what if I did from above? Well, here I have the E flat again, but here I'm going to have an E natural, a G natural again, that's cool, but then an A flat, G, B flat, ooh, D flat. Oh, this one gets interesting here. Whoo! That adds. That's a way different color. Wow. That's I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that line. Let's go on a little further because there's some more stuff I want to do to this before I leave you here because I don't want this to be a forever stream like some of my other ones have been. Uh I want to try this reversing the second triad to go down instead of up. Yeah, I am kind of doing this a long way, but whatever. Now how can I blend these? Well, of course I could complete the like that. What I don't like about that is that you have this huge skip between here and here. This one doesn't sound as big because it's usually in closing. G, C, A, C, E flat, D. This would be E flat, G, F sharp. So yeah, that one's gonna sound great. This big skip, I don't like having that in there. So let's find a different solution. I could try adding a half step here, but that's already foiled as I get here. And I don't want to change this note to a D flat to make it work. I guess I could have it be C sharp and then have the two triads be C minor and F sharp minor. That's quite a pairing. That sounds pretty cool. I've definitely changed the triads I want to be working with though. So I'm gonna scrap that and keep it, although I did like it. Save it for a later time. So half step below isn't really gonna work too well. I guess I could do one rule on the way up and one rule on the way down. So you can make a rule for yourself here knowing that each of the notes in C minor are at least a whole step away or a whole step below each of the notes in D minor. And that's how I know that I'm going to be able to add a half step, a leading tone going up, but I'm not going to be able to do that going down because E flat's a half step above D natural. I would have to make sure each note in the other triad is at least a whole step above its neighbor. Let's see how this sounds. Okay, this one gets a little weird. I mean, I guess I should go through all the whole process like I did before. What does it feel like to repeat each of these notes? It does obfuscate a little bit better because we're changing directions. So it gives this different feel to it. It doesn't feel like copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, you know, until around here. But to me, this direction sounded like copy, paste here. That's already repeated. And it's like, okay, I get it. And that sort of leads to you can maybe not do it as much before it becomes boring or like before it feels repetitive. Now it's starting to feel repetitive, you know, about here for me. I start to go, okay, it's the same thing happening over and over again. Um okay, so let's change another thing about it. Mess with it some more. This is just how you can discover these new things. So we had this one repeating on the way up. I'm afraid to do an approach note from a half step above because then that changes the quality really of this chord. Yeah, it changes that pretty drastically. What if I use what if I used a note from the next triad an eighth note early? So to get to the first note of the next triad. And then for this one I would have to use G because it's the second note. For this one I would need to use A, second note. C. Ooh, that's gonna be weird. E flat. F sharp. That sounds pretty cool. That's a really interesting sound. It still sounds like triad pairs, but it's definitely been obscured. That's the word I was looking for earlier. It's definitely been obscured by having them really almost offset by an eighth note. Yeah, I almost hear boo doo dee boo dee da boo dee boo dee bee doo bee da boo. So like in cells that are like that. But of course if you have a beat going on, you know, you really don't have that problem. So I could say this is a could say it's a C minor major 7 chord just for fun. And put some time on it. Or we could say C minor major 9. I think that sounds cool. So yeah, that really obscures the repetition in this. That's pretty cool. What if I go with the third note of the next triad? That doesn't, you know, that whole second note thing worked fine on the way down because it's just kind of an escape before. I think that's really not what an escape tone is, but that's kind of this leading up to, going away from the note before we land on it. This one is more of an enclosure on the way up. So I'd like to keep it the same way and sort of be going away from the note. So let's do the third note but an octave down. So this one's going to be E flat. That's the second one that works. This one's going to be G. That works out cool because it's always a whole step right here. Well, I guess it's not right there, sorry. But I kind of like that movement. Now, the great thing about this is if you only had these two bars to play, this would still work. To show that it's triad pairs. But what if I was going to play all these bars of C minor major 9, and I had all this time to get the listener in on the fact that I'm playing triad pairs. I could do I could just do little snippets of each pair. Now here, you might not get that it's a triad pair, but by the end of it, you can definitely hear those two triad pairs happening. Yeah. Let's just go up because that's what I'm doing. So, what information could I put in between in here then? Now I could start blurring the lines between these two triads, because what do these triads do here? If I take them, notice that if I put the notes in order, it makes this interesting sort of scale. And I can kind of borrow that property of triad pairs to say I'm going to use notes from that scale in between here instead of strictly sticking to one triad or the other. I can blend these in these blank spaces in between, kind of like I really just did last time, but I had a stricter rule for it, So what if this time I use that scale, which is C, D, E flat, F sharp, G, A, and then it just repeats. It's a hexatonic scale. What if I used that to do like... Well, for instance, I could do something like this. I could do these little cell fragments. Up a third. Up a third. Oop, what did I just do? Not what I wanted to. Okay, that does the things. What if I did that except except these were flipped. Oh, there's gotta be an easier way to do this. Yep. Okay, then. Well, not that low, thanks. So what if I flip these like this and do that same kind of rule? Let's do the two notes above the target note from the scale. So F sharp, we'd go backwards, G and A. For E flat, I'd go backwards and go G, F sharp, E flat, G. For A, I'd have to go D and C. For G, wait, I've done something wrong here. No, I haven't. I think the thing I was just having an issue with is that I'm going different directions, so it's messing with my head on how that will actually go. Huh. What if I kept the second one more true? So you know what I like? So let's I like this. But I don't like what was happening on beat 4 every time. So what if I continued the arpeggio? And then, well, I'll tell you what if I did a full-on enclosure of the downbeat? right there, though. Oh, because I didn't do that. Okay. So what I've basically got is the first triad, a scale fragment mixed between the two of them, the second triad. First triad, scale, second triad, first triad, scale, second triad, that, okay. What if I switch that around? What if I put these, because right here, dang. Those are more, like, obvious that it's triad pairs. What if I just went between them faster? Switch these two notes. So C minor, D major, C minor, D major, C minor, D major. This is gonna get hairy. C minor, D major, C minor, D major, C minor, D major, C minor, D major. So I should only have to change these two notes and just swap those two in the middle. Let's see how this sounds. Yeah, that sounds really cool. What if I flip these two? I should just be putting in the letter name. I don't know why I keep doing that. How about this? And there you go. You're getting the triad pairs now for sure. What if I put a what if I so okay, I've got this going on. I like the idea of them reversing course on the way. I like the idea of this one going down because it gives me more options to play with here. Earlier I had C, E flat, and G. Oh, and then this would have to be F sharp. That's a part that I missed, isn't it? Yeah, I forgot to change that back. I knew something looked weird. Oh my gosh. C minor, D. Then yeah, 3 5, so 5 3, 5 1, so 1 5, and then 1 3 3 1. Okay, Whew. What if I had the last note there instead? And did it like this. Yeah, and just repeat the... Oh, this one needs to be an A instead of an F sharp. And this is going to be the same as the first bar, just an octave up. And then what if I borrow from the next one? Just have a repeated note from it. E flat, so it's always going to be the same note that ends up on the next downbeat. So D, C, F sharp. I have a feeling this is going to be pretty interesting. It feels more like a scale now than two triad pairs. What if I did this with the second pair and really just outlined it a lot cleaner? I don't know about it. This is one I could really, I mean, there are endless possibilities with this. And this is only one pair of triads. You could call it like 1 minor, 2 major, something like that. And the rules will kind of work for every pair that are similarly related. So G minor and A major, you'd have the same possibilities, but of course then you'd have to work it out in that key. A really great practice is to write all this stuff down in one key and then concern yourself with the rules more than reading the notes. So doing the kind of formula, and yeah, it can patternize itself in your playing, but here's the way to prevent that. And this is what Michael Brecker said he always did, is he would spend time in a practice in a room in his house, his practice room, wherever. He would spend hours. He would take an idea like this, like I've just done on Finale, except he would do it on his horn. And he would work this out like this in every key. Just as many keys possible, following the same rules or the same formula, whatever. Just wearing this formula out for hours, sometimes 5-6 hours, just burning one idea to its last ember. And then he said he would just put that 5 or 6 hours of practice away, and he would not try to do that again. And then he said a week or two later, because he was playing so much, he'd be playing, a couple to all nights a week. A week or two later, that idea works its way into one of his solos. It might be altered a little bit. He might not get the formula exactly right, but the meaning, the intent of it comes across, and that's what really matters. And that's how you can help your stuff not sound like you're plugging in a formula to play changes. You're using these concepts and you're letting them sort of fall out in whatever. It's like you take a a, a bowl of beautifully organized marbles or something, and then you just tip it over. Like, yeah, all the same marbles are coming out, but not in the same order. It's not perfect, and that's fine. That's what's really beautiful about this is it can all come out in some twisted kind of way, but it's still going to be you. And Brecker also admitted that some of these things work really well in some keys and don't work really well in other keys. That was like an amazing thing to hear a saxophonist of his caliber say, because like that's something we would all like to get rid of, right? Everything feels the best in every key. And he said, no, it doesn't. So, like, that's fine too. Practice it in every key. Give every key a chance. But, sometimes it's just not going to feel right in that key. That's why you'll see, a bunch of times in Brecker's playing, I can see that in some keys he plays certain things that are idiomatic to his playing, and in other keys he doesn't as much. Not the same exact thing. So keep that in mind. Practice these things, wear these concepts out, and then just let them stew. Don't worry about getting up on a stage or whatever and saying like, "Oh, I'm going to play that lick I worked on this time." Don't worry about that. That should happen. That part should happen naturally. You've got to put all those tools in your box so you can just pull them out whenever you need them. You don't go, a mechanic doesn't go into the shop being like, okay, I'm going to use my 5/16 socket today. No, they see what comes across them, and if the 5/16 fits, that's what they use. All right, so until next time, have a great day. Thanks for checking in. Uh, I'll do another one later.